Hi, my name is Jessica and I'm a legal intern with the Avalon Center. The Avalon Center has a legal advocate who can give you more information and assistance with getting a protective order. The purpose of this video is to provide general information, not legal advice, and the options discussed are just possibilities and are not guaranteed in every situation. I'm going to explain what an emergency protective order is and what the process of getting an emergency protective order can look like. There is no guarantee that a victim will get an emergency protective order. This is also not necessarily what the process will look like for everyone. It is just a possibility. An emergency protective order can prohibit acts of violence, force, or threat, prohibit the abuser from contacting and being in the physical presence of the victim or the victim's family and household members, including children, give the victim possession of any pet if the victim is the owner, and give the victim possession of the home that the victim and the abuser share, and remove the abuser from the home. These are just possibilities and are not guaranteed in every situation. Emergency protective orders can also differ a lot. Some can be no contact, others can be contact but with certain restrictions, some can be no violence, and everything in between. It is important for victims to talk to their lawyer about what will work best in their situation. Judges and magistrates issue emergency protective orders in two situations. The first is when it is likely that the victim will face more violence, force, or threats, and the second is when there is a warrant for the arrest of the abuser because of the abuse. Emergency protective orders can be issued without the abuser being present or knowing that the emergency protective order is being issued. However, the abuser will have to be given the order before it takes effect. Emergency protective orders expire at the end of the third day following when they were issued, or the next day court is in session, whichever is later. The date and time that the emergency protective order expires will be on the order. Next, I will explain what the process of getting an emergency protective order can look like. Getting an emergency protective order looks different than getting a preliminary or permanent protective order. A victim can get an emergency protective order at any time of day, any day of the week. Either a law enforcement officer or the victim can ask for the emergency protective order. A law enforcement officer will typically request an emergency protective order if the abuser has been arrested or if there's a warrant for the abuser's arrest. A victim can also ask for an emergency protective order, even if there hasn't been an arrest. To do so, the victim must go to the magistrate's office. There is no guarantee that a victim will get an emergency protective order. It is just a possibility. If a victim needs protection for longer than the 3 days that the emergency protective order provides, the victim must ask the court for a preliminary protective order. But a victim is not required to get an emergency protective order to get a preliminary protective order. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this information about emergency protective orders.